Hello Wargamers, I'm Invasive Ramnus, and today I'm going to be talking about Kroot, obviously. Before we get started though, I just want to say thanks for watching. If you like the video, I think you know what to do. Leave your comments below, let me know what you think about Kroot in the new Codex, and if you want to get updates on my future 40K videos, please subscribe. Alright, so in a nutshell, the short version, Kroot, a lot better than they used to be. Have a clearly defined role now as a shooting unit. They're no longer meant for bubble wrap or for close combat. And so if you were to take them, I would take them in units of 15 to 20, maybe lean a little bit towards the 20 side, and upgrade them to sniper rounds. Potentially, if you want to outflank them, take a Kroot hound, just one, not two, one. Alright, so that's the short version. Now into the long version. So, like I said at the beginning of the video, Kroot are no longer a close combat unit. Their stat line does not suggest that they should be in close combat. In fact, it suggests exactly the opposite. They no longer get +1 attack for the good old Kroot rifle here. 2 spikes, not 2 attacks. Just 1 on the base group. And they no longer have... they lost a point of strength, so they're no longer strength 4. Standard strength 3. And so that combined with their better shooting abilities to begin with, they have a 6-up armor save, so that's going to save some Kroot every once in a while. But for the most part, the big changes that make them a bit better shooting unit is that they can take advantage of marker lights, so that's a big deal. And they can either use pulse rounds, which benefit from an Ethereal's invocation, just like Fire Warriors do, so they can shoot an extra shot at half range if you select that invocation. But they can also upgrade to sniper rounds, which are great. For 7 points, you can get a sniper unit that can benefit from marker light, so it's going to be up to ballistic skill 5, which would be great, and you can have a lot of them. So imagine a unit of 20 Kroot with sniper rounds, 7 points apiece, with spending 2 marker lights to buff them to ballistic skill 5. You're again 2s to hit, and then 4s to wound. 6s, so 4s to wound, and you know, that's going to be pretty effective against monstrous creatures or anything that's heavily armored, like Terminators or things like that, especially with the rending special rule associated with a sniper weapon. In that same light, if you were to attach a character with the Puretide Engram Neurochip, then they are not only hitting on 2s using marker lights, but then they get to re-roll their 4s for wounding monstrous creatures. So against something like demons, where you're going to have like a great unclean one coming at you with iron arm and leech life, like that's some heavy duty stuff. So you're going to want to use your Kroot to take that sucker down. So as a whole, definitely I would say upgrade your Kroot to have sniper rounds. It's a cheap and effective way to make them very influential on the battlefield. And it's very good when combined with marker light support. On top of that, they have stealth and forest, which means that in a normal forest they will have a 4-up save, which is not bad. And they also have the infiltrate rule. Now this is where Kroot hounds come in handy, because Kroot hounds give your unit acute senses, so they can re-roll what table edge they come in on. And that's if there's a forest on your opponent's side of the table and you want to get into that, having that re-roll is going to really make a difference. Because you want if there's a forest that your Kroot can effectively use, you want them to be in it, and this little guy might make that happen. So Kroot hounds are definitely an asset to a Kroot unit if they are going to be outflanking. And so if you were to be outflanking, You only need one Kroot hound. You might be tempted to take more than one Kroot hound because they do have higher initiative, and you might be thinking, well, hey, if I get charged, then I can get some extra attacks on, but that's really not what you're trying to do with this unit. You're not trying to have them get in combat. You're not trying to have them do any type of funny business like that, so just stick with them being a shooty unit. Take one Kroot hound for the acute senses, and then just have the rest of the unit be Kroot. So, yeah. Another guy that might pop up on your radar is this guy, the krootox, or I guess it's called krootox rider. I used to call him krootoxen, but krootoxen are pretty cool. They are better in close combat, and they have stronger weaponry than a standard Kroot, but they're also a lot more expensive. And so for 25 points, you basically get a Strength 6 model with 2 wounds, and then they have a higher strength gun, which is Strength 7 AP for rapid fire. So it's okay, but for 25 points, I think you probably could spend those points elsewhere. The krootox is kind of a weird in between Kroot and something like you might see on a crisis suit. So I think it's just better to put those points either into more Kroot or into more crisis suits or something like that. So if I were to be running a unit, I'd be running 15 Kroot with 15 to 20 Kroot with just one Kroot hound, and then the final option that you have is whether or not to take a shaper. This guy, shaper, he is effectively 15 points for +1 leadership. Probably not worth it. If you're outflanking, it might be a little worth it, just because he's probably not going to be within range of an ethereal. But you know, really, why it's not something that you're probably going to have to worry about a whole lot. It again is a points issue thing. I'd probably spend those points somewhere else. He does have the option to take a pulse rifle or pulse carbine, but again, that's not what you want this unit to be. Probably a sniper unit, and so you would not want to take either of those weapons. The great thing about the sniper rifle too is that you get to choose between using your sniper rounds and the rapid fire shot. So between 0 and 12 inches, you probably want to stick with the pulse shot, unless you're not going to hurt anything with the pulse shot, like a monstrous creature. But between 12 and 24, you're going to want to definitely use the sniper rounds 100% of the time, just because you're getting the same amount of shots, but you have the benefit of always wounding on a 4 and then having rending as well. So 0 to 12, use pulse rounds. You can benefit from invocation at that range, and then 12 to 24, use your sniper rounds. Alright, so as a whole, I think the Kroot improved a lot. For strengths, they're a multi-purpose backfield objective grabber. They're highly versatile. You can outflank them. You can stick them in woods in your deployment zone and have them kind of pick at the enemy. But on the downside, they're still relatively low leadership. They're kind of fragile, and they are largely dependent on forests. If you have forests on the battlefield, they can be really effective. If you don't have forests on the battlefield, they might not survive very long, just because they're using just that 6-up save or relying on other types of terrain to grant cover saves. So forests are great for Kroot because they have a 4-up save in forests. So yeah. As a whole, like I said, I recommend taking 15-20 Kroot with one hound. Sniper rounds, either put them in a forest in your deployment zone, or infiltrate them to grab an objective, or apply some pressure on the opponent's flank by getting in a forest over on their side of the board. And yeah, again, I love Kroot. Kroot are a great new addition to this codex. I definitely recommend taking one unit. As far as your troops choices are concerned, like I said, in the Fire Warrior unit, or in the Fire Warrior review, for every 500 points, you probably want to take one unit of troops. at 1850, I'm running 3 units of Fire Warriors and 1 unit of Kroot. So those are my four troop choices at 1850, and I think generally just probably 1 unit of Kroot is fine unless you're going for like an outflanky theme. But yeah, so Kroot are good. I wouldn't recommend taking a full troops selection of them. Like I wouldn't take just Kroot for my troops choices. I would use them as a complement to Fire Warriors and other Tau units. So hope you liked the video. Again, please subscribe, leave your comments below, and like the video. Thanks for watching.